So my guests are two legal professionals from the West Midlands. We have Vic Eunice from Wall James Chapel. Thank you for joining us, sir. And we have, hands up who doesn't know Neelam Afzal. So she is a partner at Wildings Solicitors and also the vice president of the Birmingham Asian Chamber of Commerce. Give them both a round of applause, please. So I think I'll start with them first, let them introduce themselves and tell everybody a bit about what they do. Ask them a few questions, and then we shall open up to the audience. If the audience has any questions that they'd like the panelists to answer, please feel free to get them ready. So I think we should start with ladies first. Neelam, over to yourself.
Thank you, Abid. So my name's Neelam Afzal. I'm a partner at Wilding Solicitors. We do a range of provide legal services, so conveyancing, property, immigration, family, but I specialise in employment law and I advise employers and employees. So if you're an employer with a problem at work and you don't know how to fix it, or an employee who's being bullied or harassed or a problem at work, we fix it, or we try to fix it. And we deal with matters all the way up to tribunal hearings. I'm also the Vice President at the Asian Business Chamber of Commerce. And we support local businesses with membership and translation services, a range of services.
Thank you, Neelam. Mr. Vic.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Vic Eunice, partner and head of dispute resolution at Wall James Chapel, a multi-service law firm. We look after commercial clients from small, medium-sized businesses, not just in the West Midlands, but nationally and as far as India. Myself, I look after businesses who have got a dispute. So when there's a problem, they come to me in order to resolve it. For high street practice, we offer residential conveyancing, family law, wills and trusts. So we do offer a variety of services. I'm also the professional ambassador for the IOD, for professional services, and also the commercial manager at Stourbridge Football Club.
Thank you, Vic. So both our panelists are employment law and
dispute resolution, employment law.
Dispute resolution. Hopefully we'll never need you, but if we do, Vic is the man. So employment law, Neelam. What made you get into employment law? I mean, Asians, we talk about lawyers, we talk about criminal, we talk about all that kind of fancy stuff. Employment law?
So we've got different areas like family law, so personal, and employment law also is the same because we spend 8, 9, 10 hours at work. So when you have a problem at work or an issue, it's really difficult. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of employees who have got issues at work, and the impact is massive because they get stressed, depressed, they don't know how to resolve it, they don't know how to take it forward. Then you've got businesses. So businesses who have set up and the difficult stages that they go through with employees and just not knowing what to do and how to deal with problems. So what we do is we look at things before we go through a court process. And one of the things, the reason why I did employment law is the stories are so interesting. Some of the stories that we get from directors who are siphoning money away, or the kind of interesting stories from employees to employers. And it's great when we get results and you have an employee saying, this was impacting all parts of my life at home. And just for you to come in and to take a look outside of the box and think about, okay, how can we resolve this? And it really puts that sort of fate, that part of their life behind them, and they can move forward.
Brilliant. Vic, so what kind of typical challenges or typical clients or typical problems would you be seeing on a day-to-day basis?
Typical problems can be companies not getting paid, so they've got unpaid invoices. So their payment terms are 30 days. As we all know, cash is king. Without cash, a business cannot operate. So the common problem is invoices not being paid, but then also disputes with suppliers about a product supplied. These are common and they're everyday issues. But having a law firm who you know and you can contact at any time, even after 5 p.m., it's important. It's valuable for a business because between 9 and 5, a business earns money. But after 5 p.m., you may want to speak to your lawyer, and that's where we pride ourselves on being available from effectively 5 a.m. in the morning till early hours of the evening or into the night if necessary.
Thanks. So, Neelam, the current employment status has changed quite a bit. Since coming out of lockdown, we've learned new ways of employment. There's changes for employers. Being an employer myself, I can't keep up with the changes. And there's changes for employees. How has this transition been? And what sort of challenges are you facing in current times?
So I think we have a very different expectation now of what a work looks like. So pre-COVID, you go to an office, you work 9 to 5 or whatever hours you work, but you're expected to turn up. Now there is a different thought process when somebody applies for a job because it's now, do I get hybrid working? What does it look like for me? What do my hours look like? And one of the things around flexible working requests, which we have, it's a legal piece of, it's a law frame and a statutory frame that's been set up where you can request for flexible working.
Do the employers have to provide you flexible working?
So they have to reasonably consider, and in law there are about 8 reasons as to why they can refuse the flexible working.
Okay.
And an example being is the burden of cost on the business. So as long as they have to follow the process, and as long as they give the reasons, the tribunals don't interfere with those business reasons. What the tribunals look at is, okay, well, was there any discrimination around this? So for example, if you're adopting a practice, and I've got a case at the moment where the business has adopted a practice for females with childcare duties or dependents or disabled dependents, but for the male who had to go through a process that's been declined. So you've got potential discrimination.
But then that kind of opens up a whole new kind of worms about diversity and...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this case, for example, it's got lots of different strands of discrimination.
Yeah.
Because we're talking also about a dependent who has a disability, and he needs the flexible because of that, as well as his childcare commitments. So there really has been a change to the way we view how people work in a business now. And recruitment generally at the moment is quite difficult. So you put that with the way that people look at work. Businesses are facing all sorts of challenges in recruiting,
Absolutely.
in what terms they offer as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the simple requirement of somebody being able to demand flexible working, and not many employers, I presume, can actually cater for that, and financially, and also from a productivity perspective, that are they actually working the hours that they say they're working? How are they keeping track of that? And is there many cases coming from such incidents?
So one of the key things is, as a business, if you're looking at having flexible working, is obviously having policies in place. So you've got the right policies around monitoring, because let's say you've given them a laptop, you've got to be able to have the policies set in place to monitor the usage when they log on, when they log off. Those are things that you can also see. Where I've actually seen it in practice where we actually had a business who would have, and they had the policies in place where they gave them the mobile phone and they would be able to see where they are.
Yeah.
And they had a job where they had to attend hearings. So they kind of found, that this person's not saying where they're supposed to be. But it's really important that they have the policies set out in the outset. They train and communicate it to their staff.
Yeah.
And the idea thing is, sit down with them first, have a chat. Look, we've had a look at this. Let's stop and let's kind of move. And then if it moves to then formal processes, to go down that route. But the advice is to businesses is to make sure they have the policies and training in place. The advice to employees is just reach out to understand what your rights are. If you're faced with, let's say, untrue allegations, and how you deal with them, and be familiar with your own policies.
Thank you. Over to you, Vic. So, we are going through a cost of living crisis. Businesses are hemorrhaging. Productivity is low. Morale is low. What kind of problems are you seeing typically on a day-to-day? And from your perspective, we have the employment challenges and we have that whole employer-employee relationship. But from your perspective, from a litigation and invoice payment and that kind of perspective, what kind of problems are you seeing that people are going through right now?
There's a number of problems, and it's difficult to list them all in a short session. I think the problems are that suppliers, clients in general, or any organization, I should say, they don't have terms and conditions. So that's the fundamental contract between the two parties.
It's all on a gentleman's handshake, isn't it?
Yeah, and Word is good, but Word was 40, 50 years ago. Now it's, what do your terms and conditions say? So I'll give you an example. I'm involved in a case at the moment with, and the claimant is based abroad. And the terms and conditions were drafted. And the good thing is we've got a retention of title clause, which basically means the goods are ours until our invoice is satisfied, and it's a 6-figure invoice. So we are now going to go and take our goods. So a common problem is organizations do not have properly drafted terms and conditions. Another problem is that organizations close to your heart do not have the right insurance. As we found out this week, that legal expense cover is available. So a law firm, an organization is down by 30, 40, 50, 60,000 pound. It's struggling for cash flow. Where can they meet their legal bill? Well, if they've got the right insurance in place, they may have legal expense cover.
So a business may feel that it may be expensive to engage people like yourself. The legal expenses insurance policy attached to their business policy. Are you able to act under that policy? Meaning, will that policy pay your fees?
I'm expensive because I'm good at what I do. But yes, because with your insurance policy, you have freedom of choice. So you are allowed to appoint any solicitor that you wish to. And then the solicitor will liaise with your insurers. And that's where a relationship with you comes in, because you effectively help broker
we've
that.
Both worked on a case recently where we've had this problem where the claimant is my client. They're insured with myself. They have a legal matter going on. We've instructed Vic's firm to deal with the litigation, and the legal expenses policy has actually kicked in and are paying for the legal fees, which means there's no cost burden upon the business, because it's traumatic as it is. The whole incident, the whole affair is rather traumatic, but having that extra burden of financial pressure on top of that can be daunting and can lead to businesses failing and going under. But thankfully, they had the right policies in place, and the knight in shining armor, Vic, stepped in and are dealing with the matter.
Thank you, Abid.
So from your perspective, the same question. So if there's an employment issue or a matter going on, legal expenses policies, I know the answer, but for the audience, do the legal expenses policies cover your costs? Because it can be quite costly. And I think employees may be afraid to engage because of the cost element. And even employers may be afraid to engage with legal companies because they're thinking, can I afford to pay these fees? So does the legal expenses policy cover you as well?
So I'm going to talk about it from both perspectives, the employee and the employer. So with the employee perspective, there is a policy under your home insurance policies, under your contents policy, there's something called legal expenses, which Abid's mentioned. And you can contact your insurers, report your employment claim, and then solicitors like us will do an assessment, and what we have to show is more than 51% prospects of success. We do a reporting system, and they put the cover in place. Now, tribunal claims can range in terms of costs. They can go up to 20,000, 30,000, depending on the complexity of the claim. So I've got one claim at the moment against 3 trusts, and we've just settled one against 1 trust. and it's costly. It's cost 20 grand so far.
okay.
And from an employer's perspective, we, and there's companies out there, but we also offer a HR package. It's a bespoke package that offers day-to-day support in your HR aspects. But with that, you have the optional aspect of having an employer's insurance policy, which we have via a broker, but underwritten by one of the big insurers. And what they do is, as long as you follow our advice, I'm going to repeat that again. As long as you follow our advice and you follow the advice in a particular scenario, you report it to us, you use our support, the insurance company will put the cover in place. Not only will they pay our hourly rate and our time for the work that we do to defend that claim, they pay the costs of the damages of the person if they were to win. So if that employee went to tribunal, succeeded, and there was a payment that was awarded, the policy would cover that. So you've got to make sure you have the policy as a business in place and you follow our advice.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Anybody in the audience got any questions before I carry on?
Ifraz, question?
Any questions, anybody? Are you bringing the kebabs or the samosas? So, back to Vic. So, rather than consult yourself, people may take the option of going to Google or going to ChatGPT and doing a very, very quick overnight legal course and trying to defend actions or trying to bring actions themselves. What would your advice be to them sort of people? What are they kind of opening themselves up to?
Google is a great resource, but don't use it for legal claims because there's that much information out there that A, you will confuse yourself, B, every legal scenario is different, whether it's employment law, litigation, buying a property, selling a property. Unfortunately, Google does not tailor the advice to your specific need. So remember, your legal situation is specific to you. You will have circumstances in your case that the answer on Google does not take into account. ChatGPT is great, but remember, lawyers have been around for many years, and we write our letters to the point and much better than ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is just general, in my view. So if you want a tailor-made letter, you want tailor-made advice, again, on any area of law, for example, with employment with Neelam, general litigation with me, or buying or selling a property, whatever it may be, instruct a lawyer, because that's what we're there for. We've gone to law school, we've got a practicing certificate in place, which enables us to practice as a lawyer. And put it like this, if you had a health issue, would you go to Google to diagnose yourself, or would you go to your GP if you can get an appointment, or the hospital?
Let's not talk about GP appointments. That's for a different day. Right, so rounding up, Neelam, apart from your professional work, you've kind of done a lot of professional development, personal development. I've watched you for the past 6-7 years. You've worked your way up to partner of your firm, which is incredible. And now you are the vice president of the Asian Business Chamber. How important is self-reflection and personal and professional growth in your view? And what advice would you give to people who are watching, who are starting their journeys back where we were 2016, 17? How important has your learning been to get you to where you are? And why are you doing what you're doing? I mean, why are you the vice president of the Asian Chamber? I mean, surely you're running a fashion boutique. I mean, when do you sleep? I would think that your work keeps you busy enough. Why take on these extra activities for?
Okay, so my journey started 7-8 years ago when I was new to Birmingham and knew about 5 people, literally. But I think the journey's been incredible because I've been surrounded, and even people that are sitting here today who have supported me in my journey. You're one of them. Ifraz and Anita, Sandy at the back. There's loads of people here that have supported me in my journey. And it's been great to learn from people around me. I think that's the most important thing. We had Uncle Awan, who was amazing, and the people that I've met through the networking who have given sound advice when you're unsure about doing something, and they just say, look, you know, that just you sometimes you just need that little nudge, and that's what people have done. They've believed in me, and it's all about giving back as well. That's one of the most important things. I've had, you know, I'm sure, Vic, you see these people approach you. Sometimes they don't have the money, they're really stuck, they're desperate, and just to see what you can do to help them, signpost them, call a friend and say, look, I need a favor. You know, I had somebody in a really desperate situation. I could only help so far, but I picked up the phone and said, look, can you do me a favor? They're in a really difficult situation. Let's help them. And that's what it's about. And along the way, you know, I think if you're true to yourself, you will succeed in that journey. And that's really where I am. I mean, my boutique is a side hustle. It's fun. It gets me away from my day-to-day. Gets me away from taking files home. So sometimes. So and I'm really grateful for, you know, where I am.
And I think that just goes to show the power of networking. No matter how good you are at your profession, or no matter how good you may feel you are at your profession, there's always scope to learn. And there's always scope to share your knowledge and experience and expertise as well. Sometimes, as business owners, we think we know it all. We don't need to learn no more, but we forget that sometimes we need to teach the ones that are coming through. And by engaging and attending events and mingling, we may be able to offer some wisdom to the ones that have just started their entrepreneurial journey. So Vic, the same question to yourself. So you're on the leadership team of the British Asian IOD. You also work with your local football club. Litigation, I mean, in my head, is suitcases of files and files and files. You play football regularly, and you do all these other things. How do you get the time, and why is it so important for?
You can never get complacent, and working in the private sector, you've always got to think, where's my next case going to come from? Where's my next client going to come from? So I think in any profession, you need to shout from the hilltop that you're a solicitor, you're an accountant, you're a doctor, because everybody needs to know, because they're your clients. Working with a football club, as you know, football's my passion. It's part of Wall James Chapel's community outreach program to help in the local community. And also, I've got aspirations within football to climb that ladder.
The next Man United manager here.
And working with the IOD, it's being with other directors, other business owners, and it's getting to know them and learning from them. For example, I've learned off you and vice versa. So with all the awards that I've won as a lawyer and the awards at the law firms that Wall James Chapel have won, that's great. But we also need to be out there telling people and supporting people that we are a law firm, we can assist them. Might not be now, may not be tomorrow or 6 months, could be 6 years down the line, but we need to be that name that they call the very first time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, both. It's been really insightful. How did we find that, people? Beneficial. Give them a massive round of applause, please. Thank you very much. Do catch up with them. They will be around for the rest of the day. Neelam's stall is over there for her fashion.
Neelam's boutique.
And Vic's stall is in the aisle as you walk in. Do stay connected with us and enjoy your rest of the day. Enjoy the donuts, enjoy the tea, and thank you for joining us. Thank you.